had my R&F oil sticks for a couple of months now, and I've had a few requests to kind of show how I use them, so that's what I wanted to do today. I say R&F, but I actually have a couple of different brands. I will disclaim, this is not going to be a video on every possible way and everything to know about the oil sticks, the oil drawing sticks. This is just going to be a demonstration of how I've been using them for the past few months. And you know, there are so many ways to use them, so there are a lot of like videos on the internet already I've seen that kind of go over the basics of them and like really in depth on all the different methods that a person can use. But like I said, that's not what today's video is. This is just going to be how I've been using them, and I'm going to show you some examples of what I've been doing. But first I'll just say, if you haven't heard of this material before, you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the R&F oil drawing sticks, which look like this. They are about yay big. I mean, I've been using mine, so I don't think I have any that are really like brand spanking new. Let's see, maybe I've got one that I don't use a ton. So they kind of come like this, and they're more or less the size of a large oil pastel, but I do also like to use the big ones. So these are the Pigment Sticks, and I'll just show you a little comparison. You can see how much bigger the big one is versus the little one. The little one, I think I want to say they're 15 milliliters, maybe something like that. These are 38 milliliters, that's for sure. You can get even bigger ones, like 100. This one, the little guys are something else. I'll put it on the screen. Anyway, so I have a lot of colors of them. They come in even more colors than what I own. I have almost all of the R&F drawing ones. There are a few that just don't interest me, so I haven't gotten them, like the metallic ones. And maybe there are a couple other of the regular paint ones. But like I said, it's just how I use them and the minimal tools that I use. Some really basic things to know about them. They are oil paint. They are literally oil paint, and they have like maybe some wax in them, some binders that allow them to be in the solid form, but they will behave like an oil paint out of the tube. So you can use any oil paint medium. The one that I'm going to use for my demonstration is just pure linseed oil, and I get it in any brand, doesn't really matter. And the other tool that I'll be using today is just single paintbrush. Like I said, other videos might show you all the different ways to use them. You could use a palette knife. You don't actually need any tools at all. These are drawing sticks. They go directly on the page. You don't need any other tools, but for my demonstration purposes, I like to use these tools. So just think about that. If you don't want to get any additional things, you don't have to. And then I just have some tearaway palette paper that I will be using to put the linseed oil on. And I mean, this could be like, you know, a ceramic dish. Like, it doesn't have to be this specifically because I'm not mixing my colors or anything on it. So I basically treat these like a drawing tool rather than a painting tool. And I think for myself, that's an important distinction because I am a painter. I paint with oil paints a lot, and for me, it's like if I'm just gonna mix colors on a palette with these and then put them on the page, I might as well just use my oil paints, right? So for me, these are strictly a drawing tool. I do have my paintbrush, and I'll show you where that comes into play. Mostly I just like to do drawing exercises with them, maybe kind of a warm-up to painting. Sometimes I do my underpainting with them and then do like oil painting over top, but I really enjoy just treating them like a drawing tool, and sometimes I end up with something more finished, sometimes I don't, and that's okay. What can you paint on with these? Anything that you can paint on with oil paint. So it does need to be a primed surface for oil painting. I really like this oil paper. I've gotten several brands. They're all fine. I think my favorite is the Strathmore just because it is really nice, heavyweight, and it does have the canvas weave texture. Not all of them do, and not everybody likes that. So it just kind of depends on what you like. But you can get it in a variety of sizes. I also have this one from Jackson's. It's only 5x7. It's actually a block. I really like this. You can also paint on something like this, the canvas pads. It is literally fabric in here, like on a pad, with a gum at the top to hold them in place. So you can kind of treat this like paper almost and just like tear off a sheet, and these are relatively inexpensive. They also come in teeny weeny sizes. And then you can just paint on like a canvas, a linen panel, a canvas panel, anything that you can paint with regular oil paints out of the tube, you can paint on with these oil sticks. So then as far as how I store them, there are kind of a variety of options. The big ones come in boxes typically. So the R&F ones come in boxes that look like this. I have some Sennelier oil sticks, which are just the exact same thing with a different brand, from a different brand. And they come in something like this. I like to keep all the boxes. The only one that I bought that did not come in a box was the Shiva oil stick. This is the very first and only one I have so far from this brand. I just got it. I really liked this color, so I wanted to try it out. It's the only one that didn't come in a box, so I'll have to see how I end up storing this one. But if you buy these sticks, either from Blick or Jackson, I believe both will send them in something kind of like this. So I just saved these. They're pretty great for storing these little foam dividers and the boxes that they come in. I think they're pretty handy. And then I'll just show you quickly what I have the rest of them in. So Jackson's actually makes and sells several of these wooden boxes, and this one's from Jackson's, but I have to tell you, I modified it. So it doesn't come exactly like this when you get it. This is about how big it is. I don't know. Maybe I'll put the link for it in the description so you can see the exact measurements. But it's a slim profile. It's the perfect size for the smaller sticks because I modified it. You can see that there's a piece of wood here. Well, the piece of wood also comes on the other side too, and I took mine out. It does not come out, it is glued in. I mean, it's not meant to come out is what I mean. It is glued in, so I had to pry it out. And just know that if you want to buy this and put the oil sticks in, you will also have to pry them out, pry this wooden piece out, because it won't fit otherwise. But I didn't need to do the top one because it closes just fine, so that's what I've done. And I have no regrets because it's been the perfect solution. So sometimes I like to take them on the go, and I take just the ones that'll fit in here, maybe a couple of the big ones, or if I just don't want that many, I'll empty this and fill it with the 5 that I want to take that day. They're pretty portable, and that's one of the other reasons why I really like them. Okay, the last thing I'm gonna say is I also bought this blending stick. I'm gonna tell you, I don't know. I don't really use it, so get it if you want, but I'm gonna use my brush that I was showing before. All right, I think we can get started. All right, I've got my little setup. I've got my palette paper here, my linseed oil, which you can pour it out. Sometimes I just dip my brush directly in. I like a big chunky brush. This is just the style that I like. So, you know, use a brush if you want or don't, and use the size that you like to use. I'm gonna draw seagulls today. I've been really into like seaside scenes and drawing little animals with these. So that's what I'm doing. Maybe we'll do some landscapes after, but for now I'm gonna warm up with some seagulls. One thing to note about the big ones versus the small ones, these are much softer. In fact, they're not technically the same product. These are called Pigment Sticks, whereas the small ones are called drawing oils. So they're kind of like a different product, but Other than the fact that they are bigger and softer, they really function the exact same way as the small ones. So yeah, I'm going to get started drawing some seagulls and let's just give it a go. So I'm starting with this one image of the seagull in mid-flight, and I really like, I've drawn this once before and I really liked using like a negative space technique. Sometimes those little exercises you do in drawing class are actually really handy, and they were not just given to you arbitrarily. They do serve a real purpose. So I'm gonna do a little negative space drawing and then go around the outside with the big chunky ultramarine blue pale. That's what this color is. So there's like a little bit of skin if you let them dry out. So sometimes I like to just twist them into a paper towel, and that usually does the trick. I'm just gonna leave like a little sliver of white space around, and that's gonna be my highlight. I think I'll just kind of go around the edge a little bit here. Okay, I like him so far. I kind of like this edge, but let's add a little bit more. I'm gonna see, what do I even have in these other ones? I like that a lot. I like to be quick with these, just keeps things loose. I think it's neat how you can see all the lines, the line marks, and the strokes. So you can smooth this out like I said, but I'm gonna leave it. Okay, let's put that to the side and do another one. So now I'm just going to take a little oil on my brush. I just use the palette paper to kind of like work it into the brush. And I'm going to spread this around. Let's go back in with my ultramarine pale and kind of fill in his form a little. Didn't quite get the negative space totally right, but that's okay. I don't mind when they overlap. I think that's kind of interesting. I love this gray. It's cerulean gray, and it leans a little bit on the bluey green, like green side, and it's just so nice. It's such an interesting gray color, and I love it. So my seagull is very backlit. So what I'm gonna do is leave a little outline where I see that kind of halo effect happening. Ideally, I would have left it in the negative space, but I didn't quite leave room for it. So let's just see what happens. I'm going to take my brush again and fill in these other areas because it doesn't really have much white space in this shadowy part. I mean, the white of him is very blue and gray because of it being in shadow. It's hard to get really fine details, so I just do my best, but I mean, what I like about this is like the chunky line and everything, so I'm not that concerned about getting those super fine details. I want to keep things pretty loose, and therefore I don't concern myself with too many details. I'm gonna add a little of this brilliant yellow extra pale down here because the sand bouncing back up onto his little tummy is a little bit more yellow and warm. And even some buff titanium, which is also like a warm sand color. Okay. I'm gonna work on the outside a bit because I don't love the beiginess. The sand I want to be a bit more cool and dark, or cool and light. So let's actually do this ultramarine blue pale and just kind of work it into places. I'm gonna leave space now for like the sticks and the shells and all of that. I'm gonna let that remain like a brown beige color. Add his little shadow before I forget. I do need to add his feet, so maybe I'll do that. I guess I didn't leave enough space for his little feet, so we're gonna go off the edge of the page. My bad. My bad. Made them yellow as like a base color, but I want to mix in maybe some darker, and then just kind of tap 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 with my brush. Okay. All right. to overwork him, so I think I'm just gonna maybe do 1 or 2 more things and then move on. I think he's good for now. Maybe I'll come back to him, but what I like is seeing some of the texture of not having used the brush, and some of it is smooth. I think that's nice to have next to each other. Okay, for this next one I'm going to use a bigger piece of paper. This is the Strathmore one. I'm just going to clean my brush off a little bit. And I thought maybe for this last one I could do more of a landscape, but it still has a few seagulls in it. Well, actually it has quite a few seagulls in it. I haven't done this one yet, so let's figure it out together. Just kind of found it on in my photos just now. Okay. I'm going to start out by doing a little outline. So I'm just going to take my Midnight Blue and I'm going to sketch out my scene. Will use my brush to blend this. Because I try to think about where I want the focus, and when you include textural marks, that's like a call to attention for the viewer, right? It's like, hello, please look here. And so sometimes that's what I want, and sometimes it's not. The sky is really a very background element. I mean, literally, it is the background, but I mean that as far as like the characters of my story, it's also a background character. Okay, now we get to do some greens. So it's a rather dark green back there. I'm going to do, let's see, I have this green earth. It's on the warm side, and it's also quite transparent. So maybe I'll cool it down. I'll just get a big area, and then I can add cooler sections. Kind of a good dark tree, but like a highlight, even though it's so dark. But it's like a good warm tree area. And then maybe go in, what else do I have? I guess I could just do the midnight. It's kind of good. what to use for this. I think it's gonna have to be a blend of colors. It leans very purple. I have a manganese violet. That's way too purple. I have, oh, that's not it. I have also, nope, I don't think so. Okay, I'm gonna just do a little bit of the midnight blue again. And we're definitely gonna be thinning this out with the oil. I have quinacridone magenta, which this may or may not be a mistake, but I'm just gonna add a little bit in. And I'm just gonna go from there, and then I'll see if I need to lighten it. So I got oil on my brush. Okay, I think this is gonna work. I'm gonna just go ahead with the gray, and then that'll kind of help, I think. Hopefully this will be okay, because I didn't leave them space like I told myself I was going to. Okay, seems to be okay. Little seagulls. Okay, I used the Payne's Gray to get a little shadow side, and then I'm just going to use the white. Okay. Alright, that's kind of working. Yeah. I'll give them a little shadow, actually. So you get a little shadow. Just blending, I'm kind of, oops. Gotta redo that. My bad. Okay. Feeling okay about that. As much as I'd like to leave the texture here, the color's just still a little wrong, so I think I'm gonna just use my brush and hope that I can get it there. Go around my seagulls. If I add a little yellow, this is the nickel yellow, it's just a little too purple and I want to see if maybe I can mitigate that a little bit. Okay, yeah, at least up here at the front, I think that was helpful. Okay, cool. I think I'm done here. I really like how my trees turned out, especially. Okay, well, that's all I have. Thanks for joining me. Like I said, this is not meant to be an all-encompassing every way to use these oil sticks. This is just how I like to use them. If you have any questions or want to know more about a certain material, let me know and I'll try to answer it. If you want to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe and stick around, and then you can watch them every week. I try to make a video every Wednesday, so stick around and I'll see you there. Bye!